Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's Making Sense of It All with Jesse Stakes. I'm pretty sure everybody has heard the slogan that America runs on small business, and I tend to agree with that. But in terms of their impact on the economy, small businesses aren't actually that small at all. Small businesses are generally defined by the United States Small Business Association, the SBA, as independent businesses having fewer than 500 employees. Based on the SBA's definition, there are 33.2 million small businesses in America, which account for 99.9% of all U.S. firms. Small businesses are credited with just under two-thirds, 63%, of all new jobs created from 1995 until 2021, which really roughly accounts for 17.3 million new jobs. Small businesses represent 97.3% of all exporters and 32.6% of all known export value, roughly being about $413.3 billion. They also employ almost half, 46%, of all of America's private sector workforce and represent 43.5% of the gross GDP. So by almost any measure, small businesses are a vital part of the American economy and workforce. In the city of Jacksonville, Florida, they understand the value that small business represents to the community, and the city government is looking to support these entrepreneurs in as many ways as they possibly can. My guest this week is the administrator of the Office of Equal Opportunity in the Small and Emerging Business Department for the City of Jacksonville, Gregory Grant. Gregory is taking his own entrepreneurial expertise and that of a professional educator at a collegiate level and bringing them into government, where he now supports those very business owners that call Jacksonville home. Enjoy our conversation. Let's jump into it. So, Gregory, can you tell my audience what you do for the city? What does the Office of Equal Business Opportunity do?
Absolutely. So the Equal Business Opportunity Office was designed to ensure that our city contractors receive equitable and fair treatment when bidding on city contracts. And so that was the entire intent of the Equal Business Opportunity Office. What I'm looking to do in this office is to spread that same information on that same responsibility throughout all of Jacksonville small businesses.
Okay. So I was about to say, you guys are also doing some things with small and emerging businesses in Jacksonville, and you've got a number of different projects going that I'd love to talk about, but can you tell everybody a little bit about what you guys are looking to do for small and emerging businesses in Jacksonville?
Absolutely. So the Jacksonville Small and Emerging Business Office is looking to provide resources for the small business community. And our approach is focused on four areas, four
Okay.
categories. And those categories are education, community engagement, access to capital, and contracting opportunities. Uh, and the idea of these four categories is to make sure that we're arming our small business community with resources they need to be sustainable. And we all know that the small business community is the backbone of our economy. Our citizens rely on small businesses. Big businesses rely on small businesses. So we're really aiming to make sure that they have the education necessary to be sustainable. We want to make sure that inside of the community, that the community understand the value that our small businesses bring, and making sure that we have everything we need for our lives each and every day. And then thirdly, the access to capital. Right now the way that banks work, and you know this, Jeff, it's not easy getting and being qualified for those loans when you're in the small business space. It could be challenging. And so when you have the city that's willing to say, hey, listen, we want to educate you in that area. We want to provide assistance in that area. That says a lot, for a city that's really getting behind their business owners, and we're really passionate about doing so. And then fourthly is the access to contract opportunities. Recently, I did a poll on LinkedIn with these four categories just to kind of get a pulse out there from small businesses of what's most important to them. And believe it or not, capital wasn't number one in this small, little, subjective, limited study.
Right.
Contract opportunities was number one, so
Interesting.
business owners are looking for, they're not looking for necessarily, I mean, we need capital or they need capital, but it's like, hey, we're not just asking for capital to ask for capital. We actually want an opportunity first. And then we'll come and say, hey, we need some bridge capital to pursue this opportunity, and so forth and so forth. So really listening to our small businesses. And I want to say this one thing, and I know this is a long-winded answer, but I also believe that we are in a different age right now. We've been through the industrial revolution, we've been through the internet age, we've gone through the entrepreneurial age. I believe right now we are in a small business revolution. Small businesses are saying we want, we want to be treated fairly, on the plane when it comes to this career path. And that's what we're finding. So the equal business opportunity is really committed to playing a role in that.
Well, and just to piggyback off what you just said, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that it's ironic, really, because I think that people always, when they think about technology increasing or the, as far as technology becoming a bigger part of our lives, everyone always thinks about it being big business or, tools that big business will use. But the truth of the matter is that the easier that the technology becomes to use, it's actually empowering the small businesses and the individuals to be able to compete with larger businesses, because it allows your shadow that you cast to look much bigger than what you actually are as an organization.
It does. And now let's face it, technology has now become a necessity of the culture.
No doubt.
It's no longer a luxury item. I mean, for a long time, I know, and I'm probably showing my age here, but for a long time, if you owned a piece of technology, it was like, wow, you must be in a different class because you have a phone, you have a this, you have a that. Now, it is a necessity of business. If you're not technology inclusive in a small business, I mean, your chances of success is very slim.
I couldn't agree more. And to your point, I think it doesn't matter if you're in a blue collar industry, white collar industry, even if you're just helping with a plumbing department at Lowe's, you have to be proficient with technology. You cannot do a blue collar job in today's world without having at least a basic knowledge of how to utilize technology.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can tell you this, personally consulting hundreds of small businesses throughout my career, both blue collar and white collar entrepreneurs. What I found in terms of commonality, just as you stated, doesn't matter if you're a plumber, electrician, or if you are running a hedge fund.
Right.
Technology is a necessity. Myself, as a third generation tile contractor, towards the end of my business career there in that particular business, I had to adopt technology, i.e., showing clients what their finished product would look like, on a 3D monitor before even selling the job. So, and now it's even, it's even more prevalent today.
Yes. So you brought it up, and I'd love to talk a little bit about you as far as your background, because from my understanding, you didn't necessarily plan on ending up in government, did you?
I did not, and that's an interesting topic. So for me, my life has been evolutionary, just like most of us when you reach a certain age. Initially, as a kid, I started out in the realm of entrepreneurship, small family business, and then that ended up growing into a serial entrepreneurial opportunity in multiple businesses. So my whole goal in life in the early days was to be a practitioner of entrepreneurship. After some time, I ended up going into education, receiving more knowledge about small business from an educational standpoint, and said, you know what, I want to be able to teach entrepreneurship and teach and share knowledge about business operations and systems. So I became a professor. So I moved into education. I realized that education is theory. And I said, well, I'm teaching all this theory, and theory is great, but as a practitioner, you want to know how to put that theory into profits. How do I put that into dollars? So I moved from being an educator in entrepreneurship from that point and evolved into a consultant of
Okay.
entrepreneurship. So from that point, I started working with the Small Business Development Center. And there and those that are familiar with the Small Business Development Center, it's a federally funded institution that provides no cost consulting to the general public. And I shouldn't say no cost because it's our tax dollars hard at work, right? And as I pursued the consulting part of entrepreneurship, I was able to take the education and say, hey, this is how you apply it now to get this particular result. Love doing that. I love to see businesses thrive by sharing that information. They put it into practice. Well, where I'm at today, I call it the next step of my journey is I realized in order to really help small businesses, I wanted to be involved in policy. I wanted to be involved in how do we shift policy to support our small businesses. And as I start understanding government more, I say, you know what? I want to get into that part of entrepreneurship so we can really influence the resources that's available. And I feel like I would be able to be a resource in that space.
No doubt. I tell people all the time, if you want to affect change, you can't do it from the outside. You have to do it from the inside. So I applaud you for that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
let's talk a little bit about that because you listed some of your pillars or some of the things that you feel are important. The first one being education. You have a tremendous background for this. But from your perspective, when you're talking about educating small business owners and entrepreneurs and people in the community so that they can do better, so that they can be a bigger part of the economic system in the city of Jacksonville, what are your thoughts on that? How do you plan on educating those folks? I know it's a big question, so I'm not asking you to lay it all out for us.
It's definitely a big question. And the reason it's a big question is because small business actually comes in all different shapes and sizes. And I can put that into three categories as well. We have our aspiring businesses who are at pre-venture stage up to about 5 years in business. We also have our emerging businesses that are what I define as between 5 to 20 years in business. And we have well-established companies that are 20 years and above. And the type of education that an established business owner needs is going to be very different than a pre-venture to that 5 year mark. So what I'm looking at is what I call a tiered approach. I want to work with educational institutions and city agencies and put together different education models for the stage of businesses that it represents.
Okay.
And found is that to be very impactful. I myself have conducted a few pilot programs with different educational institutions in terms of those different three sectors. And what I found is the more education that we provide to small businesses, it empowers them with the confidence to be more sustainable. And to put this in more practical terms, when we talk about our aspiring businesses, those that are 0 to 5 years old, their primary goal is to be stable.
Yes.
How do I become stable? How do I build that relationship with a banker, an accountant, an insurance professional, a lawyer? How do I manage employees and build those relationships? Independent contractors, consultants, mentors, investors. How do I take this entrepreneurial operating system and build it and be stable? That's education for our aspiring business owners. When we move to the emerging business owners, that 5 to 20 year mark, they are after sustainability. They have moved from being stable to now I want to be sustainable. Well, what does sustainable really mean? What this really means is I want to be able to now delegate part of my duties to a team, and my business model should remain stable. So if I'm the owner and I delegate 30% of my responsibilities to my team, the business model should still operate just fine. And you start peeling off more until now you can delegate 100% of your responsibilities to your team, and your business model remains stable. That is sustainability. Your business can now operate without you. When that happens, you move to that I'll call 20-year mark. This is the scalability. Now your business can operate without you. Now you have the freedom to say, hey, do I want to license this business? Do I want to duplicate this business in another state, in another country? Do I want to sell it, make it legacy? That's a whole nother type of training and education. So each stage we have stability, sustainability, scalability. Three different education models, but three different stages of business.
I think that's tremendous. And so, you mentioned that you have done some pilots. You've kind of done a little bit to where you could test this. How has it been received? I know you said that they're getting more confidence out of it, but do you see where they're able to apply what they're being taught, and it's actually positively affecting their business from a profitability standpoint, and also from a, to your point, from a scalability standpoint?
Yes, what I found is, and without being subjective, I would say the objective part of this is they're armed with the knowledge. So when we look at a company that's in the stability phase, which is where most small businesses kind of start and stay for a while, we start looking at concepts such as leveraging profits, not spending the money, leveraging profits. Big difference in entrepreneurship, and it's a total different change in way of thinking. What we really are after is to impact the entrepreneurial mindset at these different stages. And once a person understands the dynamic, and that's the key word too, understand.
Right.
It's very interesting because many times small business owners execute first, educate second.
Sure.
We jump in first, and then we get an education by jumping in. But when we can flip that to education first, then execution, at the end of that, we find that the understanding allows for a more sustainable model.
No, I think you're 100% right. And to your point, when you're a small business owner and you're essentially eating what you catch, or it's one of those things to where you're not eating, or your family isn't surviving unless you're putting food on the table, unless you're making money. So I definitely think you have that survival mindset when you first start a business versus, educating yourself and potentially doing it the right way versus the way that you're innately going to do it without any education. Jacksonville, Florida as a whole has always been I've always thought it's a big, small town. There has been a lot of interest in the state. There's been a lot of interest in the city. We have a lot of stakeholders that have significant amounts of money that are starting to come in. So how did you keep, the space in the city carved out for those small entrepreneurs while you have so many people with such deep pockets that have an interest in really re-imaging the city and, kind of making it their own right now?
That's a great question. And again, this is where, and I know I'll keep circling back around to it, but
Right.
the first two pillars make sense. Education and community engagement is second, right? So we need to first build community. And, that small business community where there is collaboration, where there is alliance, where these small businesses, these small businesses can band together to be able to compete by collectively sharing resources. And so that's a whole nother conversation and a whole nother probably skill set to talk about. But the biggest thing is, yes, right now, Jacksonville is becoming an increasingly attractive place for businesses to come and invest in and all of that, which I love because it actually does create more opportunity for the small businesses as well as our Jacksonville citizens. The key word is preparation. How do we prepare our small businesses to properly collaborate and negotiate with those that are coming in. And so that way that integration doesn't become a conflict, or that integration doesn't become so competitive that it creates tension. And so the Equal Business Opportunity Office, which, I love that we are definitely monitoring those relationships. For an example, we have all kind of great things that are coming to Jacksonville, things happening with the stadium, things happening in our downtown area. And the real question is, how do our small businesses get exposure to
Right.
be able to bid on these opportunities and be involved in these opportunities, while at the same time being able to manage their retail sales, or being able to manage their normal day to day. And so we are creating, and I'm just kind of putting in a plug in here, if you don't mind. But
Please do.
on November the 16th, we are actually having our inaugural JSEP Equal Business Opportunity Forum. First time we've ever conducted this in Jacksonville, where all small businesses come to this forum. I'm going to talk about these 4 pillars, but we open the floor up for questions and answers, from the small business community. I believe the answer to your question is we come up with a unified approach, and then we're able to develop those solutions and merge. And without getting too technical into, let's say, um, educational vernacular, I've always been what I call a qualitative engager from a subjective standpoint. And what that really means is, I believe that we should have discussions like you and I are having right now. And when we have these discussions, themes emerge, concerns emerge. And then as that emergence happens, the real core of things start coming out. And guess what? We unitize around that core. We develop those solutions together as a community. Now we're prepared for these opportunities that's coming to our city.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that that's wonderful. And just for people that are listening to this, whether it is before or after the 16th, this isn't the only meeting that you're going to have. You're going to start doing this, and it's going to be something that goes on throughout the community on a regular basis moving forward. Yes?
Absolutely. This is just the kickoff. Starting at the top of the year, our mantra is we want to bring equal business opportunities to the community. We want to bring City Hall to the community. We want to come to you and say, hey, small business community in whatever district you're in, let's get together, let's band together, and let's make sure that you're educated. Let's make sure you're well informed. Let's make sure you have access to capital. Let's make sure you know how to identify, analyze, and write proposals, and let's be successful together.
I think that's excellent. With anything like this, you always have stakeholders that are involved in the decision making, and stakeholders that are key to making these things happen. Can you tell us a little bit about, some of those people in the community that have to be engaged with this to make it a success? And are they involved? Are they engaged? Do they buy in?
That's a very interesting question, because everyone that I speak with about advocating for entrepreneurs and small business, I've never received any negative answer like, no, we don't want to do this. Or, no, we don't want to help small business. And you have to think about this. When we look at our citizens, I'm a Jacksonville citizen. You are a citizen as well. If we are in our communities and we see a street light not working, or we see a pothole in the street, or let's say our service at a restaurant was a bit subpar, and there was issues. Well, yes, we can go to our local city council and say, hey, why isn't that light working? Why isn't, why haven't that building been completed? Why is that eyesore there? We can say all these things to city council, but here's the real deal. The question really is, who is going to be the entity that fixed that?
No doubt.
It's going to go to a small business owner. So, my opinion, all of us are stakeholders when it comes to supporting small business. Whether you're a citizen, whether you are a prime contractor, whether you're a city official, doesn't matter. We are all stakeholders. And so that's why it's important to me to get this resounding message out to all of the citizens in Jacksonville, because we are all participants and recipients all at the same time.
I think that's incredibly well said. So all of that being said, what do you feel like is the greatest challenge right now for the Jacksonville small businesses and getting this move forward?
Right now, I believe that the historic challenge has been putting the awareness to the forefront,
Mm-hmm.
and also having emerging leaders bring the community together to work together to make sure that our small businesses are getting the resources necessary to enhance our quality of life, to enhance our economy. And so, really, in terms of challenges, I believe that we are overcoming whatever challenges may have existed historically. We're overcoming that now. In fact, to be honest, I would like to even rephrase, because I really don't believe in challenges per se. I believe that we have some learning experiences that are in front of us. So now that we know what those experiences are, let's use that information to improve. And so we're now in that improving stage, and we're getting the information out, and we're bringing the community together. So I wouldn't say we necessarily have major challenges. I would say we have historic experiences that we have learned from, and then we're now making the first steps to improving
Well said again. I think that something you said prior sticks in my mind too, is, it's the lack of knowledge of who to be in touch with. What are the resources? How do you get in touch with them? It's essentially, if I go to work somewhere, or if I have even for a child's baseball team, you come up with this phone tree and they say, okay, if you have any issues, or if Johnny can't make it to practice, here's who to call. And I think that for a long time, people get lost in knowing who to contact within their government. To your point, some people just feel like, I'm going to contact City Hall about it. City Hall might not be your best resource for the specific problem that you're talking about. So the more transparent, the more information that you can provide people from an education standpoint of who is your resource for a specific problem, I think it's tremendous. And I think it helps people be efficient and be less frustrated with government. So again, I think it's tremendous. So crystal ball, I know it's not always doesn't always turn out the way we want it, but crystal ball, 4 years from now, where do you see Jacksonville in their small business community compared to where we are now?
Where I see us 4 years from now is we would have a more stronger foundational start when
Okay.
it comes to those four pillars that I mentioned. One of the resounding messages that our mayor talks about is unitization. And that unitization, in my mind, is our agencies, our government, our educational institutions, our financial institutions, and our small business community working together. And I believe between now and the next 4 years, with the initiatives that we have under this administration, is going to make that another step forward towards that foundation and making it stronger.
All right, so let's keep it political then. Let's say 8 years from now.
After a while, you're going to take me all the way to the tomb there.
I think we got term limits.
I would say everything is always moving, and I can say this. One of the things that I believe will happen if I had to predict, between 4 years to 8 years, we will have taken a step forward from things being aspirational to being executional.
I love it. And I think the message of unitization is well heard. I think it should be received by everybody very well. There's so many resources that are available to our community, both governmental, education-wise, and just other, people helping people. The more that you can connect all those dots and be able to deliver it out to people in a easily digestible format, I think it's absolutely tremendous. If people want to learn more about what you're doing and what the city is doing, what's the best place that they can find you guys?
Absolutely. So the best place that they can find us would be at our website, which is jseb.coj.net. That is an excellent start to learn about the Equal Business Opportunity Division or any type of small business questions. Please reach out to us. We are always available. Also, I love giving out my email address. I know my administrative aide is probably like, don't do it. But my email address is ggrant@coj.net. I'm always available to answer questions to the best of my ability because I do believe in a transparent administration. I believe in being transparent in any and all things that we do.
Excellent. Gregory, I want to thank you very much for joining us. You got a big elephant to eat right now with this task, and I can't wait to hear more about it. I'd love to bring you back on the show, like over the next several years, and just kind of update us and share with us what you guys are doing and what you guys are learning along the way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
No doubt. I think synergy between citizens, the business community, and our local municipalities is what we all hope to have in each of our towns. I'm looking forward to following Gregory and the city's focus on supporting our small business community. Just as I said when we opened this show, America runs on small business. That's going to do it for us today. I'll catch you guys next time.